Well, we're just gonna go with that.
Is that?
That's not a cold open.
No.
No.
This
we're
is
not.
a cold open.
This is a cold, chilly open.
Okay. Well, cheers to that.
Clink.
Clink.
Social distanced clink.
Audible clink. We live in the same room.
We all live in the same room.
For now, at least. For like the next 24 hours
Yeah,
remaining.
Nick, get out.
Make me.
I will.
Do it.
Okay.
Gonna.
So I was like, okay.
Fine.
Well,
Well,
It's not gonna do the thing if I jiggle this like this.
probably not.
Okay.
audibly
Hopefully not.
jiggles microphone. Actually, I hope it isn't audible.
I mean,
Audible
the point.
jiggling.
this is gonna get very tiring. After a while.
You just switch hands every once in a while.
All right.
You can clearly see we have a bit of a jank setup here today, but we
Yes,
didn't
you
need
can
to comment.
audibly see that we are down one mic cable and one mic stand.
Riley.
That, yes, I have failed to replace at this point. Either of those things. Riley is also waiting on those things to arrive so he can record, so that's why we have John today.
I feel like a lot of the time we just comment on how jank our current setup is.
I mean, about 70% of the time it's
Most of them are good, but then there's the times where it's just like, yeah, we're in the sacristy with no, not sacristy. That's not the word.
basement.
No, with Riley when he was in Detroit.
Oh, in
Lake.
seminary,
The
yeah,
se-
in
no,
the
seminary.
rectory.
The rectory.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I always get those flipped in my head, mostly because the church we had growing up, the sacristy and rectory were like through the same door. And so it was like, it's in the sacristy, it's in the rectory, it's in that general area.
It's in the E.
It's in the E.
E.
Is this lack of a pop filter going to be a problem?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
All right.
Particularly if you don't pronounce your P's
Wait, I think I might have something for that.
petulantly.
I think I see one in the corner, but then I'd have to
Hold on. I got
Jiggle.
you.
hold two things and
Make content while I
content. Here's some content. No, over there, James.
No.
James,
I have one you can put over the microphone.
over the microphone,
Yeah.
so I don't have to hold two things.
Need a teleprompter.
Oh,
This is
okay.
content.
This is content.
talking
What's
BS.
everybody drinking tonight?
Liquid.
Okay. Oh, were we going to put this liquid into our bodies?
Through our mouth, yes.
There. That's not the right one for it.
Whatever. If it's still, is it still picking me up? Okay, it's still picking me up. Precisely the thing that I need.
We're just gonna keep rolling.
That was content.
All right. Good
You
job,
could have.
guys.
You could have started talking about something.
No, but it was too fun to make it awkward for you.
Just like, come on, please cover for me while I grab an oversized microphone pop filter.
like a
The thing is
Pop,
massive.
pop,
You could
pop,
fit a
pop,
baseball in there.
A baseball.
Yeah,
Yeah, more like a
tennis ball. They're the same diameter, pretty
Grape.
much.
fruit. No, never mind. I'm
Let's-
drinking apple brandy. That's what I'm drinking.
Is it good?
It's cheap.
Understandable.
It's September, so apple flavored things are in vogue.
Really? That's a September thing?
Because that's generally when a lot of breeds of apples become ripe.
Like ours.
Sure. But I
ours
guess
has become
for me,
overripe.
the connection between apples and September has never really been particularly strong, particularly compared to like watermelon in July or
Strawberries in the spring or something like that.
or pumpkin in October. You know,
Yeah.
there
or
there are
corn on the cob in February.
or tomatoes in December. That's just
Christmas in July. Well, because I guess we had apple trees growing up, so that's when the apples would be ripe. And
Sure.
You did.
huh?
You guess you did.
There was an implied audible semicolon there. whatever. Anyway, so we had apple trees growing up, so they'd be ripe around September, and then my mom would refuse to make apple crisp before September. She's like, it's got to be kind of fallish to eat apple crisp.
So that sounds like a you thing.
Kind of is.
I mean, we had crab apple trees on the property, about 2 of them, and they're like they bore fruit like every other year. They alternated.
Boar fruit. What is a boar fruit?
It is like a drill,
Oh.
but in fruit form, and it tastes like pig.
Imagine a pig growing on a tree, and you have a boar fruit,
Wow.
or
Doesn't sound very interesting to me.
a white settler in southern
In fact,
Africa,
I find it.
and you have a boer fruit.
I don't get it.
I'm growing.
BOER, boers.
I'm this line of conversation is boring me.
I'm gonna drink more of this.
You need a lot more than that.
Yeah. Oh yes,
September and apples.
September and apples.
Anyway, yeah, I don't recall specifically. So September was when they got fruit you could eat, but then again, they were always small and green, so they were never particularly like.
Yeah, you can maybe cook with them if you use a lot of sugar, but
Or if you just used a whole lot of them.
Watermelon
And-
sugar?
No.
Is that a thing?
No. No, it's a song.
Oh,
Yeah. You don't need to hear it.
good.
So,
I don't.
being September, school started back up.
Well, it started spat back up being the end of August.
Well, depending on which state we're in. Some places started like 3 weeks ago, but North Dakota started last week. Minnesota started this week.
Well, for me, college started like a couple weeks ago, but
Yeah.
no, we've recorded since I've been back in class, I suppose. Have we?
No, because I think we recorded the last episode before school started.
Huh. Anyway, I'm back in class.
And John's in class
Well,
John
on the
is
teacher's
class.
side.
I am the class.
I am.
He's on the
the
teacher's
class.
side for the first time.
Yes.
How's that going, John? I mean, we know,
Um,
but for the listeners that
It's going okay.
Include your fiance,
or may or may not, we don't know.
Depends on whether one or not.
It's all right. Being a teacher is fun. You get plenty of time to sit in a chair between classes, not during classes. And then
What do you sit in during classes?
nothing. A piano bench.
He
Something.
levitates while he teaches
I
his
love
students.
it. Yeah. Anyway,
He just
well,
has his students take turns blowing really hard into a large tuba, and the force of the air will elevate him off the ground
yeah.
over the tuba.
Well, today we did some class composition, and we made up some music
Ooh.
as the class together. We made 2 whole measures of music on the whiteboard.
Nice.
I had to explain.
How'd it sound?
Atonal. But that was not the point of the exercise.
Were you
see.
doing like the different types of notes or what?
Yeah, we were doing like, okay, these are what notes are
Whole
or
notes,
how
half notes, 8 notes,
music
quarter
Quarter
works.
notes, 16th notes, 30s.
Third notes.
We got to make a rhythm. We got to put pitches to the rhythm. So we started by making a rhythm, and then we gave them pitches, whatever they said.
Uh-huh.
G, F, A,
I mean,
C.
Good fact. GFAC.
And then I played it on the piano, and
go
like,
for a crack.
Oh. So it was.
It's
fun.
like, wow, you guys are terrible.
Some of the
No,
classes
they're just
were pretty good
underinformed.
at
It's
it.
fine.
Some of the other classes were like, what? They tried to put a whole note after a quarter note in the same measure. I'm like, that doesn't work.
It's got to go up
You
to
gotta
4.
you gotta do a thing where you have a.
I know you
thing
thought
and a
this
thing
isn't
and
math
tie them
class, but
together.
you have to do music math.
Yeah, I was like, you guys didn't know there was so much math and music, and they're like, I thought this was music class. I'm like, can't get away from math.
You could never escape
There's something satisfying about the math of music.
Yeah.
Of course, then again,
when it works.
when it works, sometimes. So East Coast swing.
Uh huh.
That
Oh, gosh.
learning that really annoyed me
Yeah.
because it is a 6-step dance. You got the back step 1 2 1 2, right? The rock step 1 2 1 2, and you alternated foot because it's alternated feet on the back rock step backward thing.
Yep.
Because you ended up on it basically. So you have 6 like steps, but you're doing it to a 4/4 time song, so it doesn't match up to one measure. So you got to go through 3 measures of the song and 2 rotations of the steps before the rock step lands on the one again. And math brain, musician brain's like, no, stop it. And then there's the people who are like, no, just go with the flow of the music. It's like the flow of the music is 4/4 time. I gotta stick on 4/4 time or I don't function.
Yeah. And then of course all the girls like doing East Coast swing. Oh, let's do East Coast swing, and then the men are like, why are you doing this to me?
I would like to get better at it. It's hard to do.
You're engaged.
You have a consistent partner.
What does this have to do with it?
You have to.
You don't have to worry about the Who.
I mean,
They're a good band.
yes.
But you don't have to. But that's like is a question eliminated from
This
you.
is a personal choice. I do actually want to know how to do it.
Yeah, I think
There are no personal choices, John.
I'm getting married. No more personal choices. Actually, that's probably half true.
It's half true, and then the other half of that's true is her half.
Yeah.
High faith.
Oops.
Just want to recognize her listenership for a brief moment.
Yes. Thank you for listening on your ship.
and now she's stopped listening.
She's not Emma. She doesn't rage quit that easily. Oh, inside jokes. Speaking of inside, I went to the gym the other day, and since school started back up, apparently everybody came back to college and was like, I'm going to work out early in the morning. Now, for ages, if you went before 7 o'clock in the morning, odds are it wasn't going to be all that busy in the gym. But this year, apparently that changed because there were even more people when I went to the gym before 7 in the morning.
Whoa.
Which was kind of annoying because it's like, dang it, I thought I was saving myself time. But the other thing I noticed that day was a gal who was working out wearing a McDonald's t-shirt. And I was like, yeah, stick it to the man.
that is some kind of irony.
Yeah, I know.
I kind of.
And like she was in decent shape or whatever. I just thought it was hilarious. It was like, I'm wearing a McDonald's t-shirt.
Gotta work off the calories.
Yeah.
McCalorie.
McCalorie.
McWorkout.
McQueen.
You gotta.
I am Speed, John. Speed. It took a little while to get the podcast up today because of aforementioned technological issues, but apologize for any lapse in audio quality this week
Yeah.
in advance.
Yeah. I'll try not to jiggle too much.
Yeah, quit jiggling, John. You're making us uncomfortable.
And please, for the love of all that's holy, use one fist.
Stop.
Moving
on.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
We say outrageous things on this podcast. We're the Palladium Papists. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
I'm John.
Riley is in seminary setting up his setup and waiting for
Things in the mail.
pieces to arrive.
This would be an edition of Gregarious Games.
And most certainly would.
So yes, we talk about games and gregarious games. I don't remember what we said our little intro bit was for this.
I don't know. We get gregarious with it.
Yeah.
So this week, the topic that we are covering is a little known game, which is a joke because it's actually
it's quite well known.
Pretty well known game. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask.
Yes.
So this was the second Zelda game on the Nintendo 64. It's kind of a sequel in a lot of ways to Ocarina of Time, but really, for the most part, Ocarina of Time is kind of irrelevant to the discussion. Just know that an Ocarina of Time exists.
Practically
and it's
all of the assets, the 3D models and things were copied directly from, Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, most of the enemies
With some
with
a few additions.
Oh yeah, quite a few actually, considering the short development time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the game opens up with Link, the main character, Elf Boy, riding his horse. Yes,
Riding his
horse through the forest. On a bit of a personal mission after the end of Ocarina of Time. It's implied that he's looking for Navi the fairy to kind of recapture his childhood, but that's really neither here nor there to the rest of the plot. Point is, he's in the woods alone on a horse, and he gets mugged.
He doesn't ride under a tree and get his hair caught and executed by the enemies of his father. No.
No, this is different.
Or no, this isn't David. This isn't Absalom. This is Link we're talking about.
No, his horse gets spooked by a couple of fairies. He gets knocked off the horse and gets kind of knocked out for a bit.
Fairies.
And the person behind the attack, the ambush, is a forest imp called the Skull Kid, which is like what happens when a forest child gets lost in the woods for too long. They kind of become that forest spirit Skull Kid thing. And he's wearing this very particular mask, the mask of which the title is named after. And he steals some of Link's junk, including the Ocarina of Time that Zelda gave him before he left on his adventure. Link wakes up and is like, hey, you can't do that, draws his sword and chases after him, is like, whoop, I'm out of here. Link falls down a hole into a parallel dimension or something like that, and Skull Kid's all like, hey, I'm gonna be mean because I like being mean. That's kind of a thing I like to do, and I'm gonna turn you
the game
into...
likes to do.
Yeah. Oh, we'll air those out later.
Yep.
So he turns you into a creature called a Deku Scrub, which is just like a little
Forest creature.
wooden forest creature, kind of like a Korok, but with a weird snout.
Yep.
Wooden snout.
Yes. So now you're just
Makes a
transformed
little
into
squeaky noise when he walks.
So you're transformed into this little thing, and you're like, oh, this is bad. You walk, you chase after the Skull Kid, and you end up underneath a giant clock tower, in the center of a village known as Clock Town. In this clock tower, you meet the Happy Mask Salesman, a character from Ocarina of Time, but he gets a major role here, and he's like, hey, you've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? Well, guess what? I too have lost something to that Skull Kid. The mask he was wearing? Yeah, that's mine. Can I have that back? If you go confront the guy and get your ocarina back, I can teach you a song to change you back. But in return for me teaching you that, you also have to give my mask back. And you're like, cool. I have literally nothing else to do, so I will do that.
I lost my horse. I'm a freaking woodland creature.
Also, one of the mean fairies that was friends with Skull Kid got left behind, and she's like, this is awkward. Can we team up? Cool. And you're like, no, please.
Go away.
Fortunately,
asked
she's
for
slightly
this.
less annoying than Navi, so
Slightly.
Slightly.
So, and the mask salesman, before you go off, he's like, yeah, I've got to leave here in 3 days, so if you could get my stuff back before that point, that would be lovely. You walk outside and you look up at the sky, and oh goodness, there's a scary-faced moon ominously close to town. That's disconcerting.
With its
That's
beady little eyes boring straight into your soul. Just Google Majora's Mask moon.
It'll probably be the thumbnail.
Yeah. Oh, I have an idea for the thumbnail, but we'll
Okay. Anyway, so over the course of the 3 days, you explore the town, you talk to the people, you meet the gang of children that run the streets doing kindness.
the bombers.
Yeah, you get one of their notebooks to keep track of all the people in town.
Because they're always watching.
You
Children are always watching.
you do a little fetch quest thing. You learn magic from a fairy who's extremely pointy, and now you can shoot bubbles. You wait till midnight of the third day when the clock tower in the middle opens up for like the festival, because there's like this huge festival of time carnival thing they're doing. It's like a tradition. They do it every year, but this year things are weird because of
the freaking moon that's gonna crash into the
moon
town.
that is like literally 100 feet from
because of
town.
unprecedented circumstances. The carnival has been delayed due to unprecedented circumstances. Anyway, in these unprecedented times.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, so you have a showdown with the Skull Kid at midnight on top of the clock tower, and he's like, hey, I'm not sorry for stealing your stuff. And the fairy's brother, the fairy that's following you around, her name is Tattle, and her brother that's still with the Skull Kid, his name is Tail. Anyway, Tail's like, hey, swamp, mountain, ocean, canyon, the four who are there, bring them here. And you're like, what? It's like, just do it. And the Skull Kid's like, shut up. I've got your ocarina, so what you gonna do? And you're like, I'm gonna blow a bubble at you.
I'm gonna blow a bubble.
So he drops your ocarina, you pick it back up, and you flash back to the Song of Time. Zelda teaches you how to play the Song of Time, and you're like, if you're ever in trouble, pray to the goddess of time or whatever, and good things might happen. So you equip your ocarina, whip out like bagpipes, and play the Song of Time. You go back in time to the first day again, so you're back before the moon was about to crush everything.
Yep.
And it's
First of 3 days.
First of 3 days, yes. There's a 3-day time span, and you loop back to the first day when you play the Song of Time. So now that you have the ocarina, you can go talk to the Happy Mask Shop guy, who's like, "Oh, very cool. You have your ocarina. It's barely been 20 seconds." Well, I'm going to teach you the Song of Healing, and that will heal you of your curse, and it'll seal it into a mask that you can put back on if you ever want to be a Deku Scrub again. So.
Why would I want to be a Deco Scrub again?
In case you want to hop over the water or fly in a flower. Just in case. That's the
But
thing.
only a very specific part of the flower, because if you're not on that exact pixel,
We'll
it's not
air
going to
those
work.
out later.
Sorry.
The salt comes later.
Fine.
James has salt. But what?
Some.
Anyway. And so the Happy Mask Shop guy is like, okay, now that I've given you what I promised, where's my mask? And you're like, I don't have it. And he's like, you realize you just doomed this world, right? Because this is also a very evil mask with like a very evil spirit trapped inside, used by ancient tribes as a ritual cursing mask thing. And me being the collector of rare masks that I am, I just had to have it. Not for nefarious reasons, it's just collector's purposes.
Yes.
But now the Skull Kid has it, and he's being a total meanie pants.
Good
To
wording.
thank to everybody in town, and
Elementary teacher John approves.
and so you better get it back, or this whole world is up the creek with how to paddle.
What a great choice of words.
Elementary school John approves.
Anyway, so you're like, okay, the only lead I have is when Tail said to go to the 4 compass direction locations. So we start by going to the swamp. You go to the swamp, you meet the people running the tourist boat thing there.
Huge tracts of land.
You do some side quests to get into the Deku Palace, which is where all the Deku Scrubs live, and there's like a king and everything.
And the monkey.
Right, there's a monkey. You follow the monkey, and the monkey's like, hey, my friend, my brother over there, is in this castle, and he's gonna get like burned at the stake alive or something like that because they think he kidnapped the princess of the Deku Scrubs. Could you go save him? And you're like, okay.
Silly monkey. Monkey.
So you go talk to the monkey, and he's like, yeah, I totally didn't do it. It's not a thing I would do. She's actually my friend. We were investigating the temple in the swamp. Could you go fight the monster
It's
in the temple
dumping
and
out
save her?
toxic stuff that's poisoning the water.
You know, the usual.
in the swamp.
So you learn the song to get into the temple. You go through the temple. You fight the slightly racist giant tribesman at the end. And you save the Deku princess and stuff. But after defeating the boss, it melts into a mask, which you collect.
You can't wear
and
this
you are
one.
teleported like into this ethereal dream realm thing where you encounter a large like a giant, like a giant creature, like a local deity kind of guardian spirit guy.
Just think a head with long legs and arms.
And he's like, and so he teaches you the song to call them in times of trouble. And Tattle's like, hey, what's this all about?
Mary comes to me.
Who are you people, and what's up with this whole thing we're doing? He stays very cryptic and just sends you back. Anyway,
It's a theme for this game.
yeah.
Cryptic sends you back.
You save the princess, you free the monkey, and
Monkey. You saved me. Why?
Monkey.
and anyway, that's a happy time until you realize, oh, it's about Moon Smash o'clock. I better turn back time.
And to the good old days. And you realize that in every new timeline you create by going back to the first day, there's a monkey just about to be burned at the stake, and you're not doing anything about it.
We'll save the existential dread for the analysis, shall we?
Fine.
Right now we're covering the plot, and the plot says we go north to the Goron city, the rock people, up in the snow mountain place. You unfreeze a guy who was frozen. He's like, oh, but we've been cursed with eternal winter.
But never Christmas. Wait.
You pick up like the lens of truth, which helps you see hidden things, right?
Yep.
You use it right outside the cave you get in, and you see a ghost Goron. You follow him to his grave, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Darmani, the hero of the Gorons. I died.
Hence the ghost.
I died. I'm no longer the hero.
I died trying to save everybody from the temple at Snowhead, which is the cause of the eternal winter sort of thing.
Yep.
And I'm not feeling well enough to go on to the next plane of existence because I failed and I'm sad and I need healing. So
And I'm dead.
And I'm dead.
I need healing. Hint, hint.
But
Hint,
he's
hint.
going to haunt until he gets the healing song.
So you play the healing song and you get the Goron mask, which turns you into the very image of Darmani. And
In the same fashion as you can turn into a Deku Scrub.
Exactly. So you use that, and like the song you learn from the crying baby in the Goron city to get into the temple. You fight the goat monster in the temple. You'll free another giant.
Goat spelt G-O-H-T.
And now you are free to go. You've saved the temple. You've brought spring back to the valley. On the third day, I'd better go back to the first day so nothing gets smashed. So now you can blow up a rock and get your horse and do a thing. I'll talk about that side quest later, but you are able to access the ocean now.
Ocean Man.
Speaking of Ocean Man, you see a man floating in the ocean. And by man, I mean a fishman Zora guy, who is actually also kind of almost dead. He's like, "Hi, I'm the guitar player for the band that's gonna play at the carnival.
I'm the Ocean Man.
Take me back to the land." Because
Anyway,
you do. You take him back to the land. He's like, heal me. Oh, I died.
Well, he
Here's a
gives
mask.
some exposition first, where
Right,
it's like, "Hey, I'm a member of the Zora band, the guys that had their show canceled at the carnival because of unprecedented circumstances. My girlfriend, implied heavily as to be his girlfriend, I assume. She laid a bunch of eggs. Don't know who the dad is. Anyway, so a bunch of pirates took the eggs, and I was trying to save the eggs from the pirates, but then I got mortally wounded.
Because there's a bunch of freaking dune worms in the water
Right.
guarding the eggs for some reason.
And he's like, I'm also like the last of the Zora hero line, and I'm not feeling too spiritually well right now.
Or physically.
Would you mind playing the Song of Healing and turning me into a mask, please? Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
And so you do that, and now you can turn into Zora Link, the coolest transformation in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Because you can swim around real fast and throw your fins like boomerangs for some reason.
Also, when you play the ocarina, it turns into a fishbone guitar. So sick. So anyway, after you get the Zora mask, you can do the little quest where you break into the pirates' stronghold. You take back the eggs and put them into the hatchery, so that when they hatch, they inexplicably form the notes of a song that opens the way to the last temple.
Mm-hmm.
But don't become Zoras.
They're Zora tadpoles.
Okay.
They do
But
become
they are-
Zoras unless you roll back time and realize those eggs are just going to be stuck there forever.
Again, later. Anyway,
When will then be now? Soon.
so anyway, you go to the Zora Temple, you fight the fish boss, and if you're James, you die a bunch and take a long
Well, that's
break
just
before
in
coming
general.
back.
That's just in general.
But so you beat the fish boss, ideally.
Eventually.
You get the mask, you free the spirit of the giant, and huzzah! You've saved your girlfriend's kids,
Fishy friends.
fish friends, fish
Fish
boy,
babies.
Fish
the
little
fish
babies.
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 But now it's the third day, and you got to turn back time to the good old days,
Like fish
so you don't
babies.
get stressed out.
Yep.
And now that you've done those three, the way is open to the fourth and final dungeon in the iconic canyon.
Yep.
You go there.
Down.
You gotta. There's a whole long quest before you get to the temple itself.
Couple of mini dungeons.
Yeah, there's also a bunch of like other side quests. You need to have like the right the Garo mask to
Talk to
talk to
some
the ninjas
ghosts.
to get hints. Yeah, you fight a giant skeleton guy who's like, "Hey, I'm the General Skeleton Man. You can have my General's Captain Hat Man thing, and you can talk to my troops, and then go grave robbing to learn a song." And use that song to
Da, 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 da.
and then use that song to heal the soul of a ghost that is angry, and that will bring the river back to life. That will turn the music box house back on, so that you can sneak in while the little girl that lives there isn't looking. Sneak into her basement and see that her dad has transformed into a half mummy monster thing, which is the creepiest thing and kind of disturbing when you think, oh, she's just been living in that house with mummy monster dad for who knows how long.
While there are other mommy monsters waiting outside.
For him, likely.
Yep. One of us.
Pretty
One of us.
pretty bleak. But you get down there and you find Mummy Monster Dad. You play the Song of Healing. You get the Gibdo mask, which doesn't transform you this time.
And it doesn't kill him.
It doesn't kill him. It just cures him of his curse. So you get the curse mask. You can go talk to the mummies in the well. Then you can go through there and get the mirror shield. Then you can go into the castle, fight the guys in the
The
castle,
Thomas
and they're
the
like,
Tank
okay,
Engine shield.
now that you fought the guys in the castle, they teach you the creepy statue song, so you can make creepy statues sit on buttons all the way up to the stone tower.
Just look up creepy
Links.
Link statue.
There's actually an infamous
Majora's
creepypasta about that.
He looks like he's got like a Titan face with just like
Anyway, so you go
I
to the
laughed
stone.
so hard when I saw that.
You go to the stone tower. You fight the worm bosses, the dune sandworms,
Barely make it if you're somebody in this room.
and you free the spirit of the giant from the mask, and now you have freed all 4 dudes.
Dudes.
From this point and all
Dudes.
throughout, there's a bunch of little side quests you can do. I think I'll recap them after the main confrontation, just because there's only a couple that are really worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You go to now you're free to go to the last day and go into the clock tower, and the Skull Kid's all like, nothing can stop me now. I'm on top of the world.
Don't stop me now.
And you're like, well,
I'm having such a good time.
get a load of this. You
The
play
moon's gonna fall.
Anyway, so you call the 4 giants at the top of the tower on midnight of the 3rd day, and they all show up, and they grab the moon, and it stops, and you're like, yay, we did it! But it turned, and yeah, you're like, yay, we did it, and the fairies are like, yay, we did it, and Majora's Mask is like, haha, lol, no, you didn't.
The Skull Kid puppet, I'm done with him. Time to take
not
things into
done
my own mask hands.
My own man.
He gets mask hands later.
Yeah.
He does.
And among other things.
So you go up to the moon, and you fight Majora's Mask, and you win. I'll get into the details of that in a bit.
Okay.
Get.
So you fight the mask, you win, you save the day. The fairies are like, yay, our friend is back to not possessed mode. And he's like, I'm sorry for all the trouble I caused. Can we be friends? And you're like, no, you will repay.
You're the worst.
No,
And
no
half the
way.
masked salesman's like, well, you certainly made a lot of people happy. I can tell by the masks you collected. Also, the evil's gone from this mask. No worries, I'll just take it now. Peace
Definitely
out.
gone. Totally gone.
Definitely 100% totally gone.
100% is fine.
Until you find it somewhere in Breath of the Wild.
Well, it's not like evil at that
No.
point. It just makes you...
The Easter egg.
It's just an Easter egg. I don't even know if that's canon.
Who knows? It's a mask.
It can be hard to tell with Zelda sometimes.
What's a canon, said the Zelda creators.
They only thought about that when they got to Skyward Sword, and by then it was too late.
Yep.
Anyway, so that's the general main story of the game. You fight the Skull Kid, you free the mask and stuff. But along the way, there's like a whole subset of your items inventory screen, which is just masks you can collect. And you collect a lot of these masks by just helping a bunch of people in side quests and stuff. One of which is the ranch quest.
Yeah.
When you first go to the ranch, you can get your horse so that you can jump over some fences and get to the coast.
Mm-hmm.
But if you talk to the little girl that lives at the ranch, she's like, hey, you're handy with a bow and arrow and can ride a horse. Want to help me fight aliens? Because there's
okay.
aliens that show up every year around the carnival and
Just kidnap
just
our
kidnap
cows.
our cows and me if you don't stop them. So, want to help? And you're like,
Because these cows,
Okay.
they're famous for their milk. They supply a milk bar in Clocktown.
with a
like
very
the
special
aliens
milk
are.
that only adults can drink.
Yeah.
So basically,
These are some fun cows.
you can straight up buy what's basically Bailey's.
Imagine cows that just produce berries. Have you ever drunk berries from a shoe?
And that's why the aliens want them.
The aliens are like, what are you doing in my waters?
Anyway, so you fight the aliens. She's like, yay, we're best friends now. And then her older sister, who runs the place since their father died, is like, you meet up with her like the next night, and she's like, hey, I'm just about to make a delivery of Bailey's to the town.
Don't worry, it'll be a real milk run.
Yeah, we're just pretty routine. So you ride with her, and she talks about, our dad died, and I've been running the farm ever since. and
Escort
I've got a
mission.
friend that's about to get married, and I was gonna go to her wedding, but then the moon showed up, and in these unprecedented times,
An alien.
Oh, look, guys trying to rob us. Shoot them. Repeatedly.
yeah. So yeah, you end up getting chased, and you chase him off with your bow and arrow, and she's like, "Thank you, for doing that, and being a real man for me there. I consider
Man
you an
boy.
adult now. Here's the cow hat, so you can go into the milk bar."
Because it's a cow hat that says, I'm an adult. I
I'm-
can go in a bar.
This is your proof of membership.
And then you can go in and very cool. Now you can go in the milk bar and watch the circus leader guy get tipsy on milk.
Because this show got canceled because of the unprecedented times.
Indeed. So that's like one of the major quests, and that one's like, it's pretty cool. It actually gets really messed up though if you on the third day. If you go back there night of the third day, Cremia, the older sister, and Romani, the younger sister, you talk to them, and Romani's like, I get to drink the special milk for the first time tonight, and she's like, yeah, honey. It's okay. You want to sleep in my bed tonight? I think the moon's gonna fall and kill us all, but I'm not gonna tell you. So I'm just gonna get you liquored up and put you to sleep, and then we both die. So you turn back time and just kind of let that happen. It's kind of messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the major side quests. The other, the major side quest, I would say, is the Kafi quest, where you meet in town, in Clocktown. There's the mayor and his wife, and the mayor's stuck in an eternal meeting between two groups. There's the carnival board who's like, we've had this carnival every year. This moon isn't gonna.
Well, we've got to have it again this
We
year.
gotta stick with tradition, virus or no. I mean, moon or no. and the soldiers like,
These are unprecedented times. We have to evacuate. Everybody get as far away from each other as
the
possible.
show must go. And so you leave them to their arguing.
Yeah.
But then you go into his wife's office where she's talking with Fish manager about canceling the show. And she's like, hey, are you the investigator person I hired? Great. Have this mask that looks like my son. Use it to inquire about his whereabouts, because he went missing, and it's 3 days before he's supposed to get married. It's this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're worried about him. And you put it on, and you realize, oh, wait, this mask has purple hair. I saw a small child with purple hair and a Pikachu mask walking around out there.
Yep.
I wonder what's up with that. So you use the mask to ask around, and you go to the inn in town, where there's a lovely young lady running the counter, and she's like, "Oh, that's my fiance's mask. I just got a letter from him about that was very cryptic and kind of startling about how he got his wedding mask stolen by some creeper, and now he's gonna go after him, and I worry about him." And so you get a letter to Kafi, you deliver the letter, and you can go talk to him. You follow the postman as he's delivering the letter, and the little purple-haired short kid comes out, takes the letter, and goes in. You walk into the room after him, and you're like, "Hey, short purple-haired kid, you look like Kafi. What's up?" And
Turns
he's
out
like,
I am Kafi.
Turns out, I am Kafi. I'm not normally 12. She isn't marrying a 12-year-old. It's fine. I just got turned into this by the Skull Kid because he's a real jerk.
Mm-hmm. Real piece of work.
And in general, everything that's been going wrong has been caused by the Skull Kid, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Except for the creeper who stole the mask. That's a totally different
That's
dude.
a totally different
The
guy.
totally not suspicious guy.
Totally not suspicious guy. Anyway, he's like, I'm gonna hide out in the back of the pawn shop here in case the guy tries to sell the mask he stole from me. And then I'm gonna chase him. So if you want to join me to stop him, that'd be cool. Otherwise, I can't go back to my wife or my fiance empty-handed. So you go wait by the
Gotta
thieves.
break my curse.
Indeed.
Can't show up without that wedding mask.
Nope. So you follow him to the hideout of the thief. You wait for the thief to open the door to his secret hideout, and you follow him in.
He's like, haha, it was a trap.
Yeah, you set off the security alarm thing. You do a couple pushing block puzzles, and you eventually save the mask totally the first time that you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to do the whole side quest over again over the course of 3 days.
But we'll get to that later.
And so now that he has the mask, you accompany him to the inn where his fiancée is waiting, and they're like, "Hey, the world's about to end. Let's just say our vows, merge our two masks, the sun and moon mask, into the couple's mask, give it to you because you're our witness, and we'll just sit here in each other's arms until the moon crushes us."
Mm-hmm.
Pleasant.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are there's a bunch of other little ancillary side quests. You talk to the organ grinder guy about the time he joined a troop of animals and stole the dog's mask, which is also a chicken.
Mm-hmm.
You give rock steak to a hungry Goron, he gives you his frog hat.
Yeah.
You race
As you do.
You race the Deku Scrub King's butler and get a pig mask. You buy a mask from the pawn shop that helps you stay awake all night like a torture device.
Yep.
And you use it, actually,
To learn the
listen
history.
to Grandma's stories so you don't fall asleep while Granny's telling you a story. And the stories she tells you are actually pretty great. They're like little lore dumps. One of them's
Explaining
like
what
how
the giants are and how the Festival of Time works.
Yeah, the Festival of Time is like a festival of Thanksgiving for everything the giants do as like their guardian deities. The other one is like the origin of the 4 giants, where once upon a time they had a friend who was a small imp, who was a bit of a troublemaker. And when the people of the village were like, hey, this imp's being mean, can you stop him? The giants were like, why'd you have to be a jerk? We're going to stop you. And the imp's like, but aren't we friends? It's like, no, you're being a jerk. Stop it. And so that's kind of implied to be the origin of the Skull Kid also, how he's kind of a social outcast with no friends who turned to illicit substances.
To wreak havoc on the town.
Yeah, he turned to violence, or was tempted.
He
was
woke
more
up-
easily manipulated and tempted by the mask and stuff.
Yeah, the mask has its own sort of evils.
Anyway, speaking of the evils of the mask, after you've like done all the side quests and helped all the people and got all the masks, including the weird Dancy guy, you have the option to, when you're in the moon for the final phase of the plan. There's not just the skull, the Majora's mask you can challenge. There's like 4 other creepy kids wearing the masks of the other bosses in the game, and you can talk to each one of them. And it's like, hey, you want to do a challenge for me? You want to play hide and seek? Okay, give me your masks.
All of them.
All of them. Now.
Eventually.
Empty the bag.
Eventually.
Eventually. So anyway, you talk to them all, and you play their hide and seek games, and they end with really just kind of cryptic questions like, hey,
Are your
right
friends
thing.
really your friends?
the right thing, what is it? If you do it, will it make everyone happy?
Meanwhile, they're just like,
Your
what,
face.
What?
Your
Is it
real
your
face.
Is it your real face you showed, or is it just something you showed?
When you
other
take off
people?
the mask, is that your real face underneath?
It would be extremely painful.
It's just like these weird like existential questions.
Yeah.
You know, like this game does.
Well, and you're in this weird dreamscape place too. Well, you.
Yeah, it's this whole, and they all look like tiny versions of the Happy Mask Salesman too.
Yeah.
So anyway, once you've like made them go away by playing their games and trading all your masks, you talk to the Majora's Mask kid, and he's like, "Everybody's gone away, haven't they? And you're all out of masks. Let's play good guys versus bad guys. I'll be the good guy. You wear this mask and be the bad guy, and you get the Fierce Deities mask, which is like the OP boss crusher. Like you can wear this in any other boss room.
Mm-hmm.
You could like backtrack to any of the other bosses and just wail on them with your beam sword.
Yep.
So yeah, you put that on, you turn into Adult Link but with different colors, and you kick
no
the
irises.
snot out of Majora like super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Yep.
And so that's kind of
You
the
defeat
story
the mask.
stuff.
The
and
moon
side quest
gets
stuff.
done yoinked out of the sky.
So
and
all the same stuff happens when you beat it that way. It's just you completed the game and got the canon ending where you fight him with the Fierce Deities mask. And I think like now's about the time we can start talking about the cool stuff and breaking down symbolisms and stuff.
yeah.
Because I've rambled quite a bit about the story itself. Just
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
there is actually a lot of content to this game. That's one of the things I like about it. See, the 3-day time limit is hell if you're trying to complete a dungeon. I mean, you slow down time, but sometimes there's just some really out there puzzles and some kind of BS bosses and clunky stuff going
And clunky
on.
dungeons.
They're like
Clunky
they're well
dunky.
put together dungeons if you have unlimited time to solve them, but you don't.
But little things like falling off a platform because it's a pipe and it's easy to fall off of if you don't come at things from the right angle. And by the way, you have to adjust the camera in a certain way. And if it doesn't line up properly, you're just not going to be lined up properly. You have to finick with it. All this stuff takes time. Some things are just, slightly jank
You good?
for now.
But the really cool thing about the 3-day time limit is it adds a 4th dimension to exploration.
Mm-hmm.
If you go around in the town particularly, everybody
You have your book that the bombers give you, and it's got like these different, basically a planner for everybody you meet.
right, And everybody in Clocktown has a schedule like clockwork. You follow them around, and you can learn what they do at different times of day, and they'll get different reactions, and that's how you kind of figure out all the side quests and all the mini games. The mini games change up every day, and so I think that's the coolest thing about the game. It's solving these conundrums.
Yep. Helping
feel-
people along the way.
Yeah, I feel like if they were like specifically and explicitly mandatory, I would hate them.
Yeah.
There are quests in Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess that I hate because they're mandatory and they break the pace, and I don't like it. Stop.
Yep.
But the Keffi quest, as finicky and as many times as I had to restart it through my playthrough, it's one of my favorite things about the game.
Same thing with me.
It was totally optional. Had they forced you into doing that before you do a dungeon, you'd loathe Keffi's guts.
Because if you want to just play the game straight through, you can
do the 4 dungeons and fight the guy. It's a little harder if you don't get all the masks, but you get actually. But I mean, some people don't mind a little challenge.
Yep.
Yeah, when I played it, and I didn't finish it, but when I played it, I'm not the kind of player who likes side quests, so I did as straight a path as I could.
And I think you miss out on like the best parts of Majora's Mask. Like the reason it's in my top 5 Zelda games is the side quests.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to get the 3D remake and just play.
Yeah,
through
the
the
3D remake, as I understand, fixes some of the jank, but also introduces its own brand
game
of jank.
Is it only for the DS?
It's only for the 3DS.
3DS.
There's a difference,
the
and that
DS3.
difference is 3.
Ah, gotcha.
But yeah. So one thing I kind of wanted to touch on symbolically in this game is the masks themselves, them being a major game mechanic. I feel, my interpretation is that the masks and getting masks from people, they represent healing, right? You play the Song of Healing, you get their masks, and you can walk a mile in their shoes. You take on their burden, thus helping them, granting them healing, right? It is your participation in suffering that brings healing.
Yep.
The culmination of taking on the world's suffering over the course of 3 days, you ascend to basically a god and deal with and do battle with the devil, and you win. It's almost Christ-like. It's almost there.
It's almost
there. But I think that's an interesting interpretation of it. That's like a personal, like, that's what I'm interpreting from it. But like this idea that entering into somebody's suffering and shouldering their burden, right?
Yep.
That is part of the granting healing.
I suppose that we sort of spilled into the truth bit a little bit, but
Well, that's like my just interpretation.
yeah.
I want to introduce the idea before we talk about it in truth, right?
Yeah. I most recently just finished playing it this last week. I started playing it way back earlier this year. I had issues with the water temple and gave up on it for a little bit, and in the middle of that break we moved and all sorts of stuff, so it took a while for me to get back into playing it, but I managed to
But the
get
break
through
did
it
you good. You weren't salty.
as salty. So I managed to come at it with a fresh approach and get basically almost 100% of the game, more or less.
You didn't get all the hearts. You didn't save
the
all the
fairies.
fairies. You don't need to.
No.
I'm saying right now, the fairies, for your temperament, aren't worth it.
Yeah.
Getting all the masks was only just barely worth it to make the final boss less hard, and also so I could discuss the Fierce Deity's mask with you.
Yep.
But overall, what are your thoughts? What did you like about the game?
Well, it was a really natural, like, getting back into playing it, having played Ocarina of Time.
Right.
Because, it's the same engine, same controls, pretty much. it's very familiar, so it's easy to pick up and start playing. It did some interesting things with the storytelling.
But as familiar as it was, this game is
There's no
weird
Ganon.
and different.
There's
no
no Zelda.
Ganon. There's only Zelda in a flashback to teach you one song.
Yep.
This game is poorly named The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
But
It's sort of unique as Zelda games go.
pretty darn unique. I feel like it's a continuation of like the weirdness of Link's Awakening,
Yeah.
which is the first one that didn't take place in Hyrule, didn't have Ganon, and didn't have Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that same kind of freedom of experimentation and just weirdness.
It still
'Cause-
follows a lot like the classic Legend of Zelda formula, where you have
absolutely.
you have your 4 dungeons to get the MacGuffins to help you defeat the final boss at the end.
You know what a MacGuffin is?
I probably once knew.
If you
It's just like a super powerful thingamajigger that is important for the plot.
The ring in Lord of the Rings is
The
a MacGuffin.
Infinity
The
Stones.
Triforce is a MacGuffin. Infinity Stones.
The
There you go.
Allspark, that type of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, it does follow that formula, but it does weird things with it. This is the game that introduced Tingle, for crying out loud.
Oh god. What's kind of interesting though is this game only came out like 2 years before, or like a year or two before Wind Waker.
Well, Wind Waker was 2002.
Uh-huh.
This game came out in 2000, and it was, I believe, Ocarina was in 98.
Yep.
They like tried to develop an add-on sequel to for like a failed disc system that was supposed to attach to the 64. Scrapped that, and then cooked this up in a year,
Uh-huh.
which maybe explains some of the jank. But I'm also sincerely impressed that they managed to, in that time of development, create 3 transformations, all of which are at least as fun, if not more, than the wolf in Twilight Princess.
Yep. Yeah, because you can turn into a Goron, you can turn into a Zora, and you can turn into a little Deku guy.
Yeah.
Wood boy.
Wood boy.
And they all have like their strengths and weaknesses, and they're all just kind of fun and cool, and they all have different instruments.
Mm-hmm.
There's one little side quest where you go into the bar and you can
Do
just
sound
go on
check.
stage and do a sound check, and you play a song, and it makes the creepy Waluigi circus leader cry.
Uh-huh. Some of the things I didn't like were, mostly side quest related. Racing in this game is whack because the NPCs are just
Racing in your horses or racing as a Goron?
yes. Because
Or,
no matter
or
how much,
racing as a Zoro when the beavers...
no matter, see, yeah, no matter how fast you go,
You race as all 4 races. You race the Deku Butlers, the Deku guy. You race the beavers as a
Zora.
Zora. You race Gorons as a Goron, and race on a horseback.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot of racing.
Yeah. And no matter how much of a head start when you're racing against NPCs, they will always catch up to you for some reason.
It's called rubber banding.
Yeah, and it's really annoying.
Used to artificially increase difficulty.
There's a lot of artificially increased difficulty in this game. I will throw that out there. A lot of the difficulty comes from just like, there's no like glitches that really break the game. It's just like,
Kind of clunky, archaic controls.
yeah,
Also, you're playing on a GameCube controller when it was designed for a 64 controller.
right.
But then again, the 64 controller is kind of jank in general.
You have to basically be a Vortigaunt to play it properly. So, yeah, there's little parts in there where it's like parts of the game require precision.
Where
and
precision isn't built into the game particularly
right,
well.
which is something that when you look at Wind Waker, they really improved on that.
And on the 3DS, you can do gyro controls aiming too if you wanted to. You can do motion control aiming. So
Yeah,
that might have
That helped. I played the 3DS remake of Ocarina of Time. That helped
sure.
a lot.
Part of the difficulty for me is I don't like getting really far into something and then having to start over again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in the game. So there's a lot at stake if you die to a boss too many times, for example.
Which, on
You
the
have
one
to do
hand,
the
it's
whole
cool
temple
that there's
over
like
again.
higher stakes and it makes
Yeah.
it feel more rewarding when you pull it off. But when you fail and have to start over, it's
You have to
like,
face the reality of those higher stakes. Like I have to do that whole dungeon, which was kind of tricky, over again.
which, for the theming of the game, you have this 3-day time limit and everything's gone. If you
yes,
don't do it
it's
within the
cyclical.
time, it's cyclical. It's repetitive. So there's like aspect of the theming where it works,
Yeah.
but the fact that it works is annoying.
It makes it, a little annoying to play. Like, not in such a way that breaks the game. It's just like, hope you get it right the first time because you're going to have to do it a bunch of times if you don't.
But it's not like in Breath of the Wild where Ganon's gonna come out and take over the world. Eventually, you have enough time to get 900 Korok
There's a
seeds
real
before it happens.
palpable threat
An
to...
impending sense of existential doom.
Yes.
Just like the thing's gonna drop. And the neat thing is you get to watch everybody react to it in real time.
Mm-hmm.
How some people question and run away, some people stubbornly stay. You see all 5 stages of grief at several points during this game.
Yep.
It's really interesting to like see how each character reacts. You get like there's a postman who's like, I've got to deliver tomorrow's mail, but there won't be a tomorrow. What do I do? So you got to get him excused from his duty by the mayor's wife.
Mm-hmm. Who's the postmaster, and you get his hat. For some reason, masks disobey the laws of time, and
As
rupees
do
and bombs and
key
stuff
items
don't.
and bottles and stuff.
But rupees and bombs don't, unless you give them to the rupees to the bank.
Because the bank apparently sends the rupees to a place that's outside of time and space, so that when you reset, you have all the rupees.
Uh-huh.
Game mechanics before storytelling.
Yeah.
Shut up, don't question. Just like you're not supposed to question the monkeys getting boiled alive every time you restart the timeline.
Or the Zora eggs you didn't rescue that this time, or
the baby that's crying while the dad freezes to death. You know,
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry
think
about
too
it.
hard.
Everything's fine in the end when you defeat Majora.
Right.
It's all good.
As if it never happened. It's fine.
Yeah. John, what are your impressions, things you like about Majora's Mask?
Well, I started the game back in high school and then stopped playing it around
College.
And so it's been a hot minute.
You watched me play the tail end of it.
I did get to see. I got a bit of closure watching you play it. I'd still missed the 4th dungeon, which is what I left off on. So
I did that after you went to bed.
yeah, I'll have to play through that one.
Because that's where you stopped, right?
Is this the first Zelda game I've seen you finish? Because I know you finished Wind Waker and Link to the Past after I went to bed.
Uh-huh.
But I watched you finish this one.
Yeah. Maybe.
Oh,
Maybe Breath of the Wild. What about
Yeah.
Wind Waker?
I don't know.
I played quite a few Zelda games at this point.
I've gotten you cultured.
Yeah. As far as Zelda's concerned.
I've always been a fan of Legend of Zelda my whole life.
Same.
I've played most of them, and I've beaten most of them, played almost all of them. I haven't beaten all of them, but I am, like I said before, I'm not a side quest kind of gamer.
Mhm.
I really hate side quests. If it doesn't have anything to do with the main story, I usually ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I like to ignore the main story for as long as humanly possible, and then do the next chapter of the story, do all the side quests that happen after that.
The thing about Majora's Mask is that a lot of the things you get from the side quests make the game easier to play.
Oh yeah.
And I never realized that with Majora's Mask. So when I was playing it,
The game doesn't tell you much.
no.
No, you gotta talk to people. You gotta explore. It's an adventure game. You gotta learn things on your own.
Well, I played it because it was I had played Ocarina of Time and I wanted to play the sequel, and I didn't know much about it. And when I played it, I was like, "This is kind of weird." It didn't appeal to me too much because of how unrelated it was.
And aesthetically
Sure.
different.
I really have always been a big fan of the classic Zelda storyline and how and then going through all the dungeons and stuff, and then saving the princess, blah blah blah. Like that's just what appeals.
And like
to
the
me.
different ways they go about that in each iteration.
And like my favorite of Zelda of all is Twilight Princess.
Mhm.
That one's my favorite, just because it's just so It's other than
The main story is like one of the best in the Zelda series.
yeah, and that's what I love about it. Because when I play Zelda, I usually play it for the story more or less than the gameplay or anything. So that's what appeals to me so much about that one. And then Ocarina of Time is classic, and that's what started all the 3D Zeldas and stuff. But for Majora's Mask, it never really appealed that as much to me as the others. But after hearing you talk about it so much,
I think it's because it like really like what you expect of Zelda, and then it really sort of comes at it from a different angle from most Zelda games.
Yeah, you gotta sit with it. Gotta kind of figure it out.
I have a better appreciation for it now. And so now I'm like, you were talking about like weirder Zeldas like Link's Awakening. I have that one. Last time I touched that was 2013, and so I just picked that up again this week, and it's been fun getting back into it. So, yeah.
Yeah, first time I played Majora's Mask was when my older brother Andrew was in high school. That was when he went through his gamer phase and kind of did a bunch of research and played a bunch of games and stuff. That's when he got into the Metroid Prime games. That's when we got a lot of Zelda games, and he discovered that you can get Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 in a collection for GameCube that was like a pre-order bonus, and he found it for, I think it was $80 when he bought it, but it was like, 4 games for $80, so it's not a bad price. And so we played through those, and that was like just part of my childhood when I was exposed to a whole bunch of new stuff through Andrew. I was like, oh yeah, these are good. I like it.
Yep. I suppose if you were to look at like the creative approaches of or like the gameplay plot design of Ocarina of Time versus Majora's Mask, Ocarina would be more or less like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, whereas Majora's Mask is more of like
a Rubik's Cube.
Rubik's Cube, exactly.
It adds a weird new dimension. It's a lot smaller than your 900-piece puzzle.
Yeah, because at first, like, Majora's Mask doesn't seem like there's that much to it.
The world's a lot smaller. There's only 4 dungeons, but it's dense, and it's extended through a fourth dimension.
Yep.
So anyway, I think
and you have to look at things from a bunch of different angles and mix and match things together just right to solve it.
I think that just about covers the cool stuff, what we liked about it, and some things we had gripes about.
Yep. So let's get into the analysis then. Truth. What are some truths that we can draw from Majora's Mask?
Suffering exists in the world.
Yeah.
Dread exists in the world, and we can help with that.
Yeah.
We can enter into that.
Make other people happy.
He's the guy. The mask salesman is the happy mask salesman. At the end of the game, he's like, "You've made a lot of people happy, haven't you? You bring happiness, you bring joy by entering in and sharing and suffering." Like
things you go out of your way to do because you don't have to do any of them.
As Catholics, we know that suffering is redemptive and can bring healing, like through by uniting it to Christ. So I think that's an interesting. It doesn't. None of this game is actually Catholic, but we can read into that truth that gets kind of tapped into a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of subtle.
It's very subtle. I think this game in general is pretty subtle with its themes. It's not like in your face, I'm dark and edgy and existential.
Yeah.
No, it just lets you live in a world where people get all dark and existential with you.
And then you have the whole Skull Kid thing with like, hurt people kind of a deal.
Right.
Easily succumb to evil to try to act out on, their pain.
I hurt people and people don't like me, so I've got to act out against them.
Yep. It's sort of a compounding thing that causes worse and worse problems.
And the first step to breaking that cycle is forgiveness for redemption.
Somebody choosing to help people and break the cycle.
To take on the spirit and enter into the evil and help face and defeat the evil. Yeah.
I suppose that's kind of part of the goodness.
Yeah, the goodness is just the helping people throughout. Like every side quest ends with you making a positive impact on somebody's life. You save the couple and they get married. You save the ranch's livelihood. You teach 2 girls how to dance.
Random acts of kindness. The game.
Yeah,
It's
and
well, because like, if you like this, going back to the whole storytelling approaches, with Ocarina, it's more of the standard like epic hero's journey, but this is just more of like the traveling hero who saves the town
yeah,
kind of a deal.
this is more like a western or a samurai movie, right?
Yeah.
Where you wander into town, do the random good deed, and then ride off into the sunset.
Is Cars a samurai movie? Anyway,
Different analysis.
yeah,
for
well, we'll
different
talk
day.
about a different day. Different day. There's a lot of implications of Cars. So yeah, you
And it's that spreading happiness. It's that getting into the messy of people's lives and helping them through their darkness, through their struggles, through their things, including like the main quest has a lot of that. You save the princess from the monsters and don't let the monkey get boiled. You take responsibility for your girlfriend's eggs. You
fish
Make it better.
for her kids.
you and then there's Pamela and her father in the ghost house where he's a mummy guy, and that's like, oh, that's kind of dark and creepy. But
Kind of help her out.
you help him through that. You bring her dad back.
Yep.
And he's like, where have I been this whole past week? And she's like, no, don't think about it. Don't talk about it. It was a bad dream, Dad. It's okay. So, just a whole lot of like real moments of goodness through the darkness. Of you bringing light to people. It's really cool.
Beauty.
Well, this is an N64 game.
Yeah.
Let's be real. It's kind of
For the time, it's pretty great.
It's for the time, but it doesn't hold up particularly like to particular scrutiny.
Yeah.
The 3DS remake looks all right, but if you look at like the character design, like the original artwork for it that things are based on, it's really striking. You look at like the promotional and the box art and stuff.
Oh yeah,
With like the really harsh black outlines and stuff, and it's really captures the mood. But even in the game, like there are some really striking designs, right? Like blocky graphics aside, like they're really well designed characters.
The
and
world design
locations.
or the world navigation is very much improved over Ocarina.
You think so?
Well, because like Clocktown, you're actually navigating through space, and in the town in Zelda, there's a lot of spots where you're just kind of getting bigger and smaller on a JPEG.
Oh, sure. And also, there's like a very clock face compass point design to the map. It's small and circular, and like each area is like visually distinct and has their own set of characters that are just like, you're weird.
Like
they
the
take some
suicide bomber rats.
Yeah, there's those. But like, also that soundtrack though,
Yeah.
dude, this is like, it borrows some songs from Ocarina of Time also.
Well, over the course of the 3 days, the songs get this more and more moody
Oh, yeah.
overtone.
Well,
Like,
particularly the main town theme. It slowly gets more and more frantic with dark undertones, and it's like, oh. By the third day, it's like this weird dissonance between the
You
hyper
hear, like,
upbeat cheery tune,
bells
and like
tolling.
Yep. Like the
eerie
sound design of
noises.
the game in general, yeah.
Then there's like,
That's only if you roll around everywhere.
which is the only way to navigate.
It's the only way to play.
That and
if you're a real speed runner,
you get the
Speed-
bunny
Real
hood.
speedrunners side hop.
you do side hop. Yep.
Side hop is fastest.
With the bunny hood.
Yes.
But yeah.
But that's about what we have to say about Beauty. The game looks like an N64 game, but one of the better ones, I'd say.
Unity. There's not enough time. There's always time for a song.
There's always time for a song. That's
Kinda.
that sums it up.
But yes.
But no, yeah, it's that 3-day cycle, right? The whole game is kind of built around that, and that repeating cycle is kind of the
Actions, good or bad, have an effect on everyone.
And that's the interesting thing. Because of the 3-day cycle, you can see in real time the effect your actions have, or inaction, in which case you see the world blow up. But but yeah, it's the idea of masks. It's this idea of masks and healing and bringing happiness, and it's this overarching idea of.
Well, you can think of a mask too as like an external show somebody's putting on that sort of hides what's going on inside. Like their core issues.
Absolutely. But in this case, when you heal them, you bring that core out, and it's suddenly the outside. It's the mask. Like you help out the circus leader, and the emotions he's been bottling up come out as a mask that cries, right? Or
Jim Carrey just looks all green in a yellow suit and is really strange.
I haven't seen that movie. I've heard
That's
it's
about
okay.
all I know about it.
The Mask. Yeah,
The
I
Mask.
never watched it. I didn't like the look of it. I didn't like a lot of Jim Carrey's stuff. Anyway,
Jim Carrey and Majora's
not
Mask.
not relevant.
Anything?
He would make an
Anything?
interesting Happy Mask salesman.
Oh boy. Anything to add?
No. I was looking up the art for the game. Does set the mood.
It's pretty dope.
Pretty dope.
Well, I guess with all that,
Speaking of dope,
yeah. Thanks for listening to the Palladium Papists. You can listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Papists. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, or suggestions for future episodes, email us at palladiumpapists@gmail.com. And we will hopefully, if all goes well, talk to you again next week.
if
Adios.
bye.